The biggest thing that I feel that a lot of agents miss out on the opportunity is that they're not being social on social media. Realtors are kind of like notorious for posts about buying or selling real estate. The reality too is the common individual or consumer of your content really doesn't care.
You're gonna do about 25 million this year as a solo agent, over 50 deals, with a good portion of that coming from your Instagram. How do you even get clients posting about food, pumpkin patches, and the events for the weekend?
If I'm posting a piece of content that's talking directly at buyers or sellers, your audience is going to get turned off because you're going to be selling to them 24/7. Ryan Serhant says a great quote: people hate being sold, but they love buying with friends. It's how can you create a lot of friends and provide the value. We're doing a lot of ManyChat, and what ManyChat is a third-party software that you can connect to Instagram, automates messages to people's direct messages as long as they comment something on a specific post. I just had a buyer consultation with someone from Instagram, took a 5-second post of that, and my virtual assistant created the whole lead magnet to it, as well as where all the traffic was going to on the email platform that I used. All I had to personally do was shoot the video, sheet the ManyChat and everything, and we just let it rip.
If you were to talk to yourself starting out in real estate again and knowing that there's going to be a lot of failure, a lot of hardship, what would you tell yourself?
The biggest thing that I've personally learned, especially with like scaling this media and creating the content, is that
you're going to do about 25 million this year as a solo agent, over 50 deals, with a good portion of that coming from your Instagram. I was just curious, you have a quote. Why is fame the most efficient business model?
Fame is the most efficient business model because when you're a local celebrity, it just makes business easier. Just from the scale of having the opportunity of meeting local business owners that have influence in the community, as well as having influence with your clients as being the local professional and the knowledge broker of knowing everything when it comes to living plan and everything else in between the area that you work.
So I was curious, you have 67,000 followers now, but you used to have a
Mhm.
thousand. Why, why did you even decide to start like an Instagram like this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Like the biggest thing that I saw was a huge gap of people highlighting the Chicago suburbs, and everyone was highlighting the city of Chicago, and there were so many different Instagram pages from best date nights in Chicago, Chicago bucket list, and that list kind of goes on and on and on. And I personally love where I live. Being a real estate agent, you kind of have to love where you live. And I just saw a huge disconnect and I saw a huge opportunity to kind of create an account like that. And one of the biggest things that I saw for myself is that the worst case scenario is that like I would learn more about where I live and the local businesses and get some meals for free. And the best case scenario, it would help my business tremendously. And it's doing just that.
So did someone like inspire you to do this, or like did you get the idea from somewhere else, or where did it come from?
Yeah, a lot of Ken Posick's the Orlando Reel was truly kind of like beneficial for me, and just seeing like local agents like in the Raleigh area, and just like different cities around the U.S. kind of like have these Instagram pages for relocation. But I found for myself was that there's not a ton of relo compared to states like Arizona, Texas, Florida, compared to here in the Chicago suburbs. So I kind of just want to be that huge local influence in the area. And I get inspired by a lot of content that isn't in the real estate space as well. So those local thing to do places like in Metro Detroit or San Diego and just other touristy towns has definitely been beneficial for me.
Yeah, I think that's like a big thing because, like, for example, YouTube. Everyone thinks
Hmm.
YouTube is just heavy relocation,
Hmm.
um, and I imagine like agents think about like Instagram. They're like, oh, well, I want to have this local presence, and one of the
Right.
things that Gary Vee talks about is like, and he's been saying this probably since like 2014, 2016, is like agents just need to be the digital mayor, and you
Hmm.
started to become that
Hmm.
on your Instagram.
Hmm.
And can you talk about a few of the opportunities that it's landed you recently?
Yeah. Besides, like obviously working with clients and everything like that to help them with their real estate goals, it's gotten me into doors of having relationships with local business owners that I've gone to, whether it's to eat or shop, just growing up around the area, but actually having like, authentic relationships with them. People love what I do. I always highlight the good of the area and everything like that, but I get on media lists for local towns, so I know a lot of the new developments coming to the area. If there is restaurants that are opening that are, highly classified and big wait lists and everything like that, I usually get like right in the door. As well as just like giving me opportunities with like builders and developers, as well as luxury apartment buildings, kind of reaching out to kind of like do collaboration. And for me, is that I'm always the type of guy to kind of just look at like the relationship building standpoint and not necessarily look at as a business opportunity right away, but to truly harvest, the seeds that I plant, to just have it bloom to something fruitful down the road.
Yeah. And I want to get into like some of the content strategies and the actual content that you post in a minute.
Yep.
But I like how you took inspiration outside of the market and brought it
Hmm.
in.
Hmm.
And you're like, let me do this. It's working in other markets.
Hmm.
But I had a question really quick, like because you and I are in text chat and I see the stuff.
Yep.
So the people listening don't see some of the opportunities. So can you
Yeah.
share like specifically, maybe not mention the name, but maybe the industry or whatever, like 1 to 3 of the cool opportunities that have landed recently?
Yeah, I mean, restaurants, obviously, local restaurants. I actually have a lot of people that will reach out to me and give me the scoop of like what's happening in the area and everything like that, of like the new construction development that are just like locals in town. One of the big things that I'm getting right now is that like I'm getting into other networks, which has been great, like local gyms around the area. Not even really local gyms, but like just local community centers that have, catalogs of like events and classes around the area. So I'm just being inserted as the local thought leader in there and being able to, pitch seminars to, their community, and just tapping into like other circles that like I never would have thought without this Instagram page.
Yeah. And the cool thing about like Instagram is it's kind of like a very low level skill compared to YouTube.
Totally.
It doesn't require like as much work, like shooting a 10-minute video versus like shooting a 15-second reel is way different.
For sure.
So um one thing that I kind of noticed with the pivot on your Instagram, especially within the last year, is like you
Hmm.
started as like a food page and
Hmm.
then you pivoted more to like area content. And that's kind of
Hmm.
when everything really started to take off.
Hmm.
So, can you kind of think about like why you made that change and what happened in the growth that happened after you made
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I started this page like January of last year. Um, and like I told you, like my goal with the page and everything like that, like the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. But the biggest thing was like I was already gaining traction of a following just because of simple search engine optimization, right? I had Living Chicago Suburbs as my at handle, as well as Living Chicago Suburbs as the name right below my avatar picture. Um, and like the big thing to the growth was that Instagram makes it really easy to kind of edit posts and do everything within the app. And it's a great platform to just like do editing your content in there and everything like that. But what Instagram allowed me to do was that I was able to schedule static content 1 day a week for 7 days, kind of thing. So I was really just following all the local coffee shops, the bars, the restaurants, the shops, and everything like that, and just going on my feed and just screenshotting and just scheduling out content every single day of just static posts. My page wasn't growing anything crazy, but thankful to search engine optimization, it was like gradually just continually to grow, as well as like the local businesses were sharing my posts every single time that I were to post them and tag them. I had a huge shift in my content October 14th, 2023, where I just went 60-day reels. I have a good friend, Taylor Hunt, that just kind of like mentioned it to me, just to like go 60 days with reels and see what happens kind of thing. And just post every single day. No matter the quality of the content, just post and get something out there. So I start to do that. And then I just noticed that like my list content of like me highlighting like the specific area of like, if I'm looking at Naperville, Illinois, I'm posting like the best restaurants to eat there. And people loved that content. And what made people love that content was that it was shareable. So they were able to share it with friends, family, and loved ones. And then number two, it was very easy to digest and provide value to the consumer. So Instagram loves it when there's a lot of saves and shares on specific pieces of content, and it just drives traffic to get you into the algorithm and hit that non-follower count. So from there, it kind of just like started blowing up. Really just like an influencer, foodie, things to do, just really highlighting the page. And no one knew that I was the face behind it until I started building that brand.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy to look at it now and see
Hmm.
like the 4 million views that you get a month,
Hmm.
14 million in 90 days. Um, and I'm sure like one of the big things people are wondering is like why even build it on like a living in Chicago suburbs, like a branded account
Hmm.
versus like a personal account.
Hmm. Yeah, no, like the biggest thing and the reason I went this route instead of just doing my personal account is because like I love creating content as well as highlighting the area that I live. Um, I'm trying to build it like I know a lot of agents are doing it is like a media company that sells real estate, right? Living in Chicago suburbs is just a top funnel platform for me, and that's always going to be sponsored by my real estate brand and any other businesses that I open. Living Chicago suburbs allows me to kind of branch out into different opportunities, whether it be if I wanted to, create like a huge blog and a website for this. That isn't real estate, but just more just a top end funnel of just saying like, hey, like here's all the things to do. Like you're obviously looking at this content, whether you are a local already or you're looking to make a move here. Very easy, very digestible. It just makes it easy for a consumer to do so and everything like that.
Yeah. I think that's like a big thing is like building a media company that sells real
Hmm.
estate. And that's what Ken Posick talks about all the time. And
Hmm.
you're actually doing it. So one thing also is like people are proud, like you're posting about food, you're
Hmm.
posting about like events, and we'll show all this stuff like pumpkin patches. We'll show that
Hmm.
post in a minute. Like
Hmm.
it's one line of thought could be like, I could see a lot of agents being like, how do you even get clients by posting about food or like
Hmm.
pumpkin patches and the events for the weekend?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
what have you seen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like I said, is like it's very top funnel, right? Like in a perfect world, I kind of look at the Instagram page is that if you could convert, like in a perfect world, if you can convert your following at like 0.1%, that's absolutely incredible, right? And obviously, like the biggest thing that I feel that a lot of agents miss out on the opportunity is that they're not being social on social media, right? And what does that mean? Is that they're not leveraging their direct messages. People are answering polls and stories on their on the Instagram stories that you post, and you're not interacting with them, right? There's a great book called How to Win Friends with and Influence People, and one of the biggest things is that people, people just love sharing their opinion, and you got to be open minded with it. And we got to remember is that at the end of the day, is that us as realtors is that we're in the profession of marketing ourselves 24/7. A lot of people that aren't in the sales industry or trying to promote themselves to gain clients and build a business are sometimes shy of sharing their opinion or putting stuff out there. So for me being able to give other people a platform to kind of like share their opinion and me being social with them is that, we're just like Wilson says it all the time, just like jab, 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 then right hook. I usually talk about and say just like depositing in people's lives and then going for that big withdrawal, which is, hey, Andrew, are you looking to buy or sell real estate? I'd love to help you kind of thing, right? And then like now it just like happens very organically because like my face is in a lot of the content and I'm collaborating with my personal page to gain clients and build my following there as kind of an extension of living Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, and I actually saved one of the story poll posts, so I'll be able to show that too in a minute. But yeah, I think a huge thing is like having that unbranded page kind of
Hmm.
almost gives people that like freedom to be like, oh,
Yep.
I can like give my opinion.
Yep.
Um, because on your personal page, I, there would be a little more like of a psychological barrier to be like,
Yep.
oh, let me give an opinion on this guy's like page.
Yep.
So I think that's big. And then you mention all the time like everything's kind of like an attention game, top of funnel, and that's how
Yep.
to think about it. Not like do any realtors that like hit you up and be like, "Hey, I want to build an Instagram like you." Be like,
Hmm.
"Well, I don't know if I want to post this stuff because I want to get
Hmm.
like I want to post something about like real estate that's going to generate sellers or like."
Hmm.
Do they ever say stuff like that to you?
Yeah, all the time. And I think like a big thing to that is like ego, right? Um, Realtors are kind of like notorious for just like trying to like post about like their content of like buying or selling real estate because they think that's going to equate to a client right away, as well as they're always just posting like their sales and everything like that. When the reality too is like the common individual or consumer of your content really doesn't care. And the biggest thing that people need to realize is that the average person is probably transacting once every 8 years, right? And that number is probably going higher because of, obviously low interest rates that people locked in, everything like that. So with that being said, is that where's the opportunity here? When you're using short form content, the shelf life is very, very short. So if I'm posting a piece of content that's talking directly at buyers or sellers, reality to it is that the actual person that's a buyer or seller is probably not going to be seeing that piece of content right there. And if you're posting that every single day to your audience is going to get turned off because you're going to be selling to them 24/7. Ryan Serhant says a great quote is that people hate being sold, but they love buying with friends, right? So
Yeah.
it's how can you create a lot of friends and provide the value? So with me being able to create this huge platform of just like giving the value and giving like the local authority there, is that I'm able to kind of cultivate a following and cultivate a brand already and just understand is that like, yes, like all these followers are probably not transacting right now, but there's a good chunk that is going to be transacting and they're going to be buying a house in a certain area and they're looking for information, the schools, the best places to eat, the parks, etc. And I'm providing that value up front, as well as there's going to be people that know someone that is and sharing my content. So it's just kind of like an avalanche and it's kind of like one of those things that is really time on task and it's really like the long play with it for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you made a huge point there. It's like the average person maybe buys and sells every 5, 7, 9, 11.
Yeah.
It's been moving up like
Hmm.
13 years.
Hmm.
And why would they follow a real estate like agent's page if
Right.
all they're posting is homes
Right.
for those 7 years,
Right.
basically? So I think that's huge. So we're gonna go into like the strategy now. And
Okay.
for anyone that wants like a breakdown of it, we'll put it in the link in the description below. Looked at all of your content, broke down the different buckets, the different topics, the angles. So that'll be in the description. But I'm curious your thought process around your content strategy. When you think of
Hmm.
the buckets and the topics that you post about, what are
Hmm.
the like 3 to 5 main things that you make up your like monthly calendar of content?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of evolved. I would say right now it's collaboration posts within my Instagram page, with my personal Instagram and live in Chicago suburbs as collateral to it. Sharing new development in the area or new local businesses, and then figuring out like just green screening articles and making the content very organic. I feel like that's where the algorithm is going with Instagram is not as polished content, but very like relatable easy to digest content that anyone can create, right? A lot of list content. And when I say list is like, best places to eat in XYZ town, best date night spots in XYZ town, best breweries, like the list can go on and on, where to watch football, just things along that nature, as well as real estate content in my listings. A big thing for me now is that like I'm really trying to grow an email list because I feel there's a lot of opportunity there. And if my Instagram were to ever shut down, I need to be able to communicate whether I recreate an Instagram or, putting my list to a different platform. So right now, like one of my big goals is to just really grow a local email list to be able to provide value that way.
Yeah, email list is huge, and then I have something in here about that too. So we'll get to that. Is there? Uh, I kind of made this list from yours, like talking about the areas and towns that you work in. You mentioned the collab, real
Hmm.
estate, the list, which goes under like the things to do,
Yep.
lifestyle, coming soon is the new construction. What
Hmm.
have you seen when you think about those topics? About like this one performs the best. This one is best for starting conversations. This
Hmm.
one's good for this. Like, what have you
Hmm.
seen from your data?
Yeah, I would say the piece of the content that caused the most conversation is probably the coming soon post, right?
Nice.
Coming soon or news posts, and the reason for that is because people are opinionated. And that's a good thing. You need to be social on social media and give people a platform. And like you said, Andrew, it's easier for someone to kind of give their opinion and everything like that on living Chicago suburbs rather than my own personal Brandon Blankenship account. Um, and that helps a ton, especially with all that, because they're able to create conversation there. And then you can kind of notice, I mean, like there's ways to manipulate to kind of like put you in the front. So if I have a viral piece of content, I'm always commenting on my posts, and I'm always commenting on all my posts. Like I'm myself's biggest fan when I post social media posts, right? I'm always commenting from my personal page, and if a post is blowing up, um, I'm putting something in the comments saying like, hey, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate, buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the Chicagoland area, DM me here or at Living Chicago Suburbs, and I just literally pin the post because people are always curious of like, hey, this post is engaging very well. There's 1,000 comments on here. Let me open the comments and kind of like scroll and see. Um, the average person's attention span is about 8 seconds long, and I'm trying to convert a lot more of my followers to my real estate page because if I know they're following my real estate page, they're probably interested in real estate, whether it be next week or next year, right? So with that being said, is that I'm shooting a lot of video messages to them. I'm being social on social media kind of thing. So like those people that are going to my page, I kind of like know is that they're probably maybe going to be a client eventually, or they're trying to get something, and I'm trying to provide it to them.
I think so. There's two things. One, the comment that you do, the right hook,
Hmm.
is good. And we could talk about that. The one thing that I don't want to like overlook is just you you have to get people's attention first.
Right.
Like if you don't have enough people looking at your content, there's not going to be enough chances for that to even become a right hook.
Right.
So kind of taking that thread, the coming soon topic, and going a
Yep.
little deeper.
Yep.
Um, I think this post was one of them that like you either created in 15 minutes or is like
Hmm.
less than an hour.
Yep.
I forget. Can you talk about the process? Because for anyone that
Yeah.
can't see, I'll have this kind of play on screen too. But it's you
Yeah.
green screening, talking about a new development. It reached over
Yep.
245,000 people. So can you talk about
Hmm.
that creative process a little bit?
Yeah, so that's also kind of been like just like growth and everything like that for like the past year and a half, 2 years. And the biggest thing to when you said 245,000 views, Andrew, is that I would bet that 85 to 90% of those are local people to the area. So it's relative and it affects them, whether they are going to be someone that participates in that new development or business that's coming soon, or they're just, opinionated on it, right? So my flow in honestly creating those green screen pieces of content is that it literally takes me probably about 10 to 15 minutes to shoot something. Um, I'll, scan the article, just scroll through. And really for me is that I'm only dropping 25 to 30-second pieces of content when I'm green screening like that. And I'm doing a few things. I'm letting them know I'm hooking them with obviously multiple ways with me like talking on to the video as well as that cover screen right there. It's like, hey, like if people are scrolling my page, they need to click on this because it's engaging, right? So we're hooking people two ways. And then two is that I'm just giving them the gist of like, hey, this is what's coming, this is probably when it's coming, and here are my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on it? Drop a comment down below. So it's just very short and sweet to it. And then I'm putting something in the description by reading that article and taking the cliffhangers from that article and just sharing it right there. So like the creative process to it really only takes 10 to 15 minutes long. And I try not to get in like writer's block per se when it comes to this because I understand is that the shelf life to this piece of content is very, very short. And something like this coming soon post, it's only truly going to be relevant for probably like a few days or a week or two if it blows up. So I just kind of like just put it on there, especially if it's something that like is like a new development that's in the beginning stages. I'm able to cover it multiple times in content, right? So follow me if you want to see the development going through the next year or two to 2026 when it's finished.
So I want to break the process down a little bit because I think this is one of the most repeatable. It's easy. It's green screen. Like
Hmm.
you don't need a high production value.
Yep.
Um, so first, the article.
Yep.
Where do you get like your inspiration for like where do you find your articles? Like what are some of your sources for you?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm looking. Uh, Follow a lot of the local. If you're not on Facebook, join all the local Facebook groups that you are working in because a lot of those local Facebook groups that are, admins in that page are not realtors or anything like that. They're like truly just admins. So they're always posting like what's coming to the area, whether it's good or bad, right? Like I'll see a lot of random articles and I'm still like living in the moment and I'll just like screenshot that piece of content. And just use it for myself in the future kind of thing. So I'm looking there. Chicago Tribune, Daily Herald. There's a lot of free sources, but there's also a lot of pay to play sources as well, which I'm investing in because they provide great quality content there, as well as just like local Instagram pages of big malls in the area, trying to get into network of the local development, luxury apartment buildings, and just following the local town Instagram pages because they're always highlighting it. And a lot of the websites of your local towns that you work, they probably have like a business page there that they're providing a lot of value of the meetings that they have for the community and just sharing everything that's coming to the area, whether it be next week or next year.
Do you use any AI to help with like the article and like the script for the short form?
Yes and no. I use AI for like descriptions and everything like that to kind of like make it quick and easy. And honestly, like my virtual assistant is incredible. She like knows what I'm looking for, and she's been with me for over a year now. So she really gets my flow and like what I'm always looking for. Um, she still like texts me an article like if it's applicable and relatable and something that I would post, and I would say 9 times out of 10 it's a yes. So a lot of my research and a lot of my plotting right now is that like I'm a quick trigger guy is that if I see a piece of content that I know is going to go viral, I'm probably shooting it on the spot if I have time. But a lot of the times right now is that my virtual assistant is doing a lot of the research for me,
Okay.
and just like things along that nature to kind of just give me, just to make it easier on me.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the filming and the editing part in a second, but I
Yeah,
want to touch on like the VA. Um,
yeah,
what parts of the process are they doing for you, and like
yep.
how are they kind of doing it for you?
Yeah. So that's also been like just a trust thing for me kind of thing, which is giving my virtual assistant more on her plate. But realistically, like now I would probably, because I post every single day, is that, and some days twice a day if I'm doing a news post, is that my virtual assistant is probably creating 4 to 5 pieces of my weekly content a week. So that it really just leaves me 2 pieces of content that I'm kind of creating myself to post. But I think the biggest thing is like you just don't overthink it and just really understand that the shelf life to the content is really short. I posted a video of the best places in St. Charles. My virtual assistants gave me the list and everything like that, and I'm just proofreading everything and just making sure it's right and telling her to subtract or add. And the reality too is that ever since I've started this Instagram page, I've probably posted that same list type of content for that specific town like 4 or 5 times in the past year, honestly.
Okay. So like for example, this one is the new development. Like
Yep.
what did she where did she play a hand in this
Yep.
post?
Yep, she put a hand on that and just finding me the article. And then she put the green screen. She put together the photos of the green screen, gave me the article, and then she used AI to kind of give me like the big bullet points that I can like talk about real quick.
Nice.
So really, what happened for me is that I just stated my 20%, and what my 20% was me just shooting the content and getting it out, right? She helps me with the description and everything like that. Um, and then, she's finding me like the source of the content and just making sure it's correct.
Okay. So she found the article, uh took that article, summarized it with AI, went
Yep.
into like Canva, created that background green screen of the photos.
Yep.
Um is there anything that you had to teach her to get kind of what you wanted, or did you just give her examples?
Yeah, my virtual, she's really dialed in. We have something in our Google Drive where it's literally just live in Chicago suburbs. So it's everything from lead magnets to articles to the towns I work to the different holidays to the things that are happening to the inspiration pages. So she has everything there.
Okay.
Um, but she's very good at what she does. Like I said, that's kind of like just a relationship building to it. Like she's been with me for over a year, and she kind of just like knows the flow of everything now. And she knows like when she's looking for content, she knows the towns that I want to work, kind of thing. Because she has a list of the 15 towns that like I live within like a 25 to 30 minute radius of me.
Mhm.
So she knows all those towns to hit and everything like that. So she knows like if an article says Schaumburg, Illinois, she knows that's applicable to me, and then I will shoot it. If something
Nice.
says Orland Park, Illinois, she knows that like that's not me, kind of thing, because that's 45 minutes away.
And how do you shoot like this type of video, like the green
Yeah.
screen?
Yeah, I literally just get some good lighting, either by like a window or honestly do it outside and just selfie camera it. I'll selfie camera it to just shoot the piece of content, and I'll typically do it within the Instagram app or I'll do it on CapCut. I've been doing CapCut more because I like the captions a ton and it just makes it very easy and it looks way more aesthetic kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, I had a big aha with it because the founder of Instagram talked about how like he busted a myth where he talked about that if I were to shoot content, whether it be on TikTok, CapCut, or any other platform, and transfer it over to Instagram, I used to think that Instagram didn't like me doing that, but he broke
Mhm.
the myth that saying you can create on any platform. Less watermarks on the video, the better, and it'll perform better. But you can edit on any platform that you want, and it'll do good.
Okay, so you film inside a CapCut, and then you
Yep,
use like the green screen effect, put the background in, and you're the
yep,
one who basically makes the edit after that.
yeah. Barely though, because all I'm doing, like the only edit that I'm doing is that on CapCut after I film everything, I'm just taking out my pauses and my ums and just making it very like clean cut and just expanding the whole Instagram, or not the whole timeline of the video and just getting out all my cuts, hitting the captions button and just like letting it rip kind of thing and just making a few edits there.
Nice. And can you talk about like when you look at the metrics and you see likes,
Mhm.
comments, send, shares, is there any that you kind of like look at more than the other? You're like, this is the
Yeah.
one that I care about.
I would say when my face is in it, the shares, right? Like I'll get stopped in public now, like probably like multiple times a week kind of thing. And they know who they've seen my face, but they can't put like who I am. So they typically just come up to me and just say like, hey, like, are you the guy on Instagram? And it's yes.
Mm.
My face is on there, 7.9 thousand shares. It's really local people. Like Andrew, if you were just like browsing social media and we didn't know each other, and you weren't in the real estate industry or anything like that, and you said luxury living in the mall in the Chicago suburbs, you'd scroll past unless you and your wife were moving to the area or you were visiting, right? So everything on that page and all those shares is very, very local, which is great. In my opinion, I think the likes is the lowest metric to it all.
Yeah.
I think likes is the biggest. It's just an ego play right there. But the two metrics, if I were going to rank like the metrics, in my opinion, what serve best in terms of like what I look at, it's shares, and then saves and comments are like two and three. It just depends on the type of piece of content that I'm doing. If I'm doing like an email builder, then obviously comments. But if I'm just doing something like lists, like obviously the saves. And then likes is just number four for me.
Yeah. And talking about lists, you can see here like the different
Yep.
lists here. And then this one's kind of like more of like a B-roll, like best
Yep.
restaurants in Naperville list. So are you, because these posts and even this one, like the
Hmm. Yeah.
Instagram posts, are you even creating any of these three anymore, or is that entirely
Um,
VA?
entirely VA. The only post that I'm personally creating is that one where I am in shooting at an actual restaurant. And
Okay.
realistically, the easiest way that I personally do it is that I just take a lot of pieces of content, I put it together, and it doesn't matter of like what the actual like content or what I'm saying in there anyways, because I'm just doing a voiceover, right?
Hmm.
I'm putting a voiceover and captions and it's done.
And that's all in CapCut.
That's all in CapCut.
Nice. Um, so these are the different topics I got. The angles, you have lists, point of view, data, anything to touch on with the angles that you want to say from
No, those are all like spot on.
nice. And so this is what I kind of gather is like some of the proven topics for you. And
Hmm.
kind of goes back to what we've been talking about the whole time, like real
Hmm.
estate, the food, weekend guides, new
Hmm.
construction, price, anything that you're like doubling down on in the next 30 to 90 days here,
Yeah.
more than others?
Yeah, I would say housing coming soon, just anything that's coming to the area, pretty much being the TMZ of the Chicago suburbs about just bringing all the news faster than anyone can, or even repurposing the news because all the news sources post the same content anyways, kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's just like who posts it the best, right? And who repurposes it the best, kind of thing. So yeah, really just doubling down. Like perfect world right now, the next 30 to 90 days is that if 50% of my content can have my face in it now.
nice. Yeah, and how come for the brand reason?
Yeah, brand awareness, growing the personal page, just starts growing trust and everything.
Nice. So I think it's crazy how you're getting like 5 to 10 DMs a month, and
Yep,
something that we talked about here is like you started adding hundreds of people to your email list,
yep,
and that's kind of a big growth strategy for you. So can you talk about that and like what you're doing for that, like why you're
yep,
starting to do that?
yep.
You've mentioned a little bit.
Yeah, I think a high quality newsletter that's short and sweet, that has a lot of volume to it. I think weekly is great. I mean, if someone can send like, I mean, I think Hormozy sends like a daily newsletter, like something crazy
Yeah.
kind of thing. But the biggest thing with like newsletters that I've noticed was that like you're going to get a lot of unsubscribes. You're going to get a great open rate. Like my open rate for like I don't know, I'm emailing it to like 850 people or something like that right now is that like it's like 50%, which is really good for me kind of
Hmm.
thing. Obviously getting a lot of unsubscribes, but it is what it is. But for me is that I'm subscribed to a lot of email lists that inspire me as well as that I think the content's very relative. And I don't open every single piece, but there's going to be times when the subject line hooks me and I open it kind of thing and read, and it's like really good value. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to learn how to do better as well as story tell better and just like be able to like package content short and sweet much more easier because I think that's like the secret sauce to a newsletter. But pretty much for me to like grow my newsletter right now is what I'm doing is that we're just doing a lot of ManyChat. And what ManyChat is a third party software that you can connect to Instagram that pretty much just automates automates messages to people's direct messages as long as they comment something on a specific post. So you're pulling up something on the screen right now with best pumpkin patches in the Chicago suburbs. It was perfect season to do it. And I kid you not, like this post with the B-roll back there was I just had a buyer consultation with someone from Instagram and everything like that. And this was across the coffee shop. So I took a 5-second post of that and my virtual assistant created the whole lead magnet to it as well as where it was sourcing to or where all the traffic was going to on the email platform that I use called Flowdesk, and she packaged everything together. So all I had to personally do was shoot the video, just put the same aesthetic of like the colors and everything like that on the cover screen, do like a short and sweet description, everything like that. She did the many chat and everything, and we just let it rip, kind of thing. And I think this one went insane. I'm not sure how many comments it had specifically.
Yeah. First of all, it's crazy that like newsletters and email marketing isn't as like tapped into as
Hmm.
people tap into like Instagram and YouTube,
Hmm.
because the ROI on email is like 36 to 40x. And
Hmm.
I don't know if you follow any of them, but some of the biggest newsletter brands like Axios sold for 525 million, Morning
Hmm.
Brew sold a portion of the company for 75 million, and
Crazy.
like Axios built hyper local newsletters
Yep.
even in Chicago. So it's like,
Yep.
why aren't agents doing it locally?
Yep. Yep. And Axios is a great source for me. I get a lot of my content from there.
Oh, nice. That's good. I think it's like a great source for a lot of the major metro markets.
Totally.
And yeah, this like kind of like the other one as well. So you're starting to do, are you starting to test a little bit more different
Hmm.
posts,
Hmm.
different types of lead magnets?
Yeah, testing a lot more lead magnets. I feel like the page has a great brand right now, so like I'm really trying to turn up the real estate content on it, and just like influence people that like, hey, like I am a real estate agent at the end of the day,
Hmm.
and everything like that. I'm trying to see what posts like really hit well. And like this one did extremely well. I wish I had a lead magnet on it and everything like that. I think I had something with like just DM me the word move and everything, but still
Yeah.
trying to master many chat and everything like that. But the biggest thing with these pieces of content and when they DM me the word move, it's just like people raising their hands. Whether they're buying
Yep.
next week or next year, it doesn't really matter. It's more just gaining conversation and building a relationship with them sooner rather than later, to eventually be the real estate professional of choice. We talk about how that, the biggest thing is that when you get attention is that, people that are buying or selling real estate are typically only interviewing one real estate agent.
Yep.
And, I think, I don't know what the stat is, but an increased number for two agents. And it's really one or two agents. So for me is that I understand is that as long as I'm one of the two agents in there, there's a really good chance that I'm going to close for the business and be able to be the real estate professional choice.
Yeah, and I think it's huge. When I think of the marketing strategy as a whole, you have
Mhm.
the first is like growing the audience, and then
Yep.
second is like building the list, and then
Right.
third is like starting the conversation, setting the appointment. Uh, and you've mastered growing the audience,
Yep.
and now you're mastering building the list and growing the list.
Yep.
Um, and can you talk about like really quickly your newsletter, kind of like how you're,
Yep.
what are you sending an email? Like, what do you think works and the strategy around that?
Yep. Yeah, great question. So, really, a lot of it's just repurposed content. So, my virtual assistant every single Friday, without fail, she'll send me every Thursday what to do in the weekend, right? And we're sending my newsletter out every other Friday right now, and eventually we're going to get into that weekly stage. But we're really just repurposing that content of what's happening in the weekend. We're doing a little real estate, and we're doing a little bit upfront too, and just highlighting restaurants and local businesses. And obviously like small call to actions and everything like there, but nothing crazy, just very easy, digestible. I think I'm doing a really good job right now. I take control right now of the hooks of like the subject line and everything like that. And I think that helps my email newsletter, helps me promote and just gets a bigger open rate for sure.
Nice. Yeah. So it's kind of like you're taking the same strategy of social as you are in email. It's like content first, have
Yep.
valuable content, and then right hooks within the content.
Yep.
And you're having the VA build out the content for the most part, and you're
Yep.
coming in
VA.
and touching the subject line, the key things that like matter. Is
Yep.
that correct?
Exactly. Yep. So my VA does the 80%. I just do the 20%.
Yeah, that's really smart. It saves you a lot of time, and you're
Totally.
starting to do a lot more like story right hooks too, as
Yep.
well as the
Yep.
posts. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing with these story posts, is like, when you ask a poll, and a lot of times people are kind of like shy to like raise their hand or like DM you kind of thing. But
Hmm.
this is so like low pressure because they'll just click a poll. And a lot of times that they don't anticipate that I'm going to direct message them. And I'm always getting like a high engagement in terms of like when I put a poll out there. And Instagram likes when you put a poll. Like if I notice that my Instagram story is like popping off with like 3 or 5,000 views or and something like that, is that I'll typically just like post a poll right after it. And it's the same thing, just depositing, 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 giving
Yep.
people the ability to have opinion. And then obviously the right hook is when I ask something specifically for real estate for them to answer as a poll. And people are raising their hands. They might not message you back right away because you also got to catch them at a good time. I think when I did this post, it was kind of a bad time because I try to message 24 hours after so I can just run through the whole list. And I think I posted this post on a Thursday, like a Thursday evening or something like that. And like I just messaged everyone Friday night. So people have, date nights, they're going out, extracurriculars with the kids. So just a bad time, but just gotta just it's all learning.
Did
Content posted, it's better than not.
Yeah, it's all marketing is a testing game. That's really
Yep.
all it is. Did you
Mhm.
get anything from like your story post the other day about the listing coming soon?
Yeah, I have one girl and her boyfriend were just figuring out to set the phone call. The first time home buyers, it's funny, we actually have like mutual followers from my personal page too, which is also the crazy thing is that like I'll notice like people like we like when people follow my personal page and I look at their profiles, there's a lot of times they have mutual friends. And again, I'm being like if I have a like go back to that, like if we go back to that news post that blew up with 250,000 views that I collaborated with my personal page, was the big thing was that like I started getting a ton of people to follow me on my personal page as well. So I just waited for everything to kind of like build up, and then I was being social on social media and just simple message on just grabbing my phone and just being like, hey, like thanks for the follow. Means a ton. If you ever want to see anything posted on here or live in Chicago suburbs, like let me know. Always open to new ideas and want to share what you guys want to see. And if you have any questions on the real estate market, whether it be next week or next year, I'd love to help. Just shoot me a message whenever. And I always say their name first so they know it's personalized instead of just a mass message.
That's a script. You send that a lot then?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Um, so I wanted to end talking about like the growth and how you're thinking about like the media
Yeah.
side or like the organization. Like
Yep.
when you look at kind of what you're building next, you can jump to one or the other. Like what are you thinking about for your business, whether it's from the media or like the team and like what you're trying to build into?
Yeah, I would say definitely more leverage and really mastering the platform on YouTube because I think YouTube and Instagram really go hand in hand and Facebook eventually. But I think this is like the three-headed monster with the YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook because like realistically, if like the names very linear with each other, like they just like know who it is. And YouTube and Instagram have like two different, in my opinion, audiences and everything like that. And like the biggest thing that I've personally learned, especially with like scaling this media and like creating the content, and obviously, like you said, is that marketing is just like a guessing game and just seeing what works all the time. Is that like I look at like I had an agent like tell me when they were I read it somewhere and everything like that was that who would do more business? Would it be the great marketer that's average at sales, or would it be the person that is incredible at sales with very poor marketing skills? And the reality too is the great marketer, because they'd be able to get more people and get way more opportunities. But when you're able to mix in great marketing with great sales skills, like I feel like it's limitless, and I feel like that's what I have, and that's kind of what I'm growing, because I see a lot of agents that go viral, but really doesn't result into anything, whether it be opportunities to build better relationships with local thought leaders, or at the end of the day, building your real estate business with getting clients and everything like that.
Yeah. And are you when you say Facebook, uh that's probably gonna be a whole nother future podcast talking about the sales side and like actually converting.
Hmm.
Um and it's kind of cool to see what's gonna happen as you keep growing. But when you think of Facebook, are you thinking like Facebook community, like a little group, or are you thinking posting on Facebook more?
Facebook group.
Okay.
Facebook group, just because like there's so many of those local Facebook pages for any town that you live, and it's the same thing how I look at like those Instagram pages, like Metro Detroit, things to do in Metro Detroit, San Diego foodies, and just replicate the page on Facebook. Is like, what if those accounts just had an extension for real estate, whether they are the real estate professional or they just figured out a way out to like get a license and just refer all the business kind of thing. It's like that's just a whole nother avenue, right? And it's insane to me because they have so much influence.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a way to go deeper with people, kind of like email is as well. Um,
Totally.
so how are you thinking through like the organization that you're trying to build? You trying to build like a media company like Ken? What are you thinking?
Yeah, like a smaller scale for sure, kind of thing. Right now, I think like a content creator, I think would be great. Like someone that like wants to help create content, because I get a lot of reach outs to do collaboration posts for like local businesses and restaurants and stuff like that, and I really just don't have the time. I want to do all of them, but my time is spent better at other places, kind of thing. So yeah, like definitely like a content creator that's also just a really good marketing social media person, and then like a full-time videographer, especially once I get more on the listing end. Just like a cost sake, it probably makes more sense to bring in like a in town or in-house photographer, videographer for sure.
Nice. So if people want to like ask you questions about Instagram, video, email, or just talk marketing, where should they hit you up?
Yeah, you could hit me up at Brandon __ Blankenship. That's my personal Instagram. If you try to message me on Living Chicago Suburbs, I'm probably just going to direct you to my personal. But yeah, super easy to get a hold of me there. I'm probably on social media way more than I care for. But I just turn off all the notifications, and I just do my best to be a creator, not a consumer.
Nice. So I was curious. You got into real estate not that long ago, like
Yeah.
3 to 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And you used to have 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can look at your business and they see up and to the right. They're like,
Hmm.
oh, it's just growing. But
Hmm.
as like an entrepreneur or a salesperson, there's a lot of highs and lows. It's a roller
Totally.
coaster. So if you're to talk to like yourself, whether starting out in real estate again or starting
Yeah.
off in Instagram at zero and knowing that there's going to be a lot of failure, a lot of
Hmm.
hardship, like what
Hmm.
would you tell yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I think right now is like this is my like fifth year total, because I was licensed previously in California, as well. And I feel like the biggest thing for me is just like if I can go back 5 years from now, actually November 2019. So this is actually my 5 year anniversary of just being a real estate agent or just holding a real estate license, whether it be in California or Illinois. Is that I would go back to November and tell myself is that saying, hey, like you're definitely overestimating what you can do this first year, but you're underestimating what you can do the next five. And just seeing the growth of what I've accomplished, and I'm extremely grateful for everything that's happened within those 5 years and the ebbs and flow and the roller coaster of everything, was that patience is key. And if you build it the right way, and if you build it, they'll come. Um, you just got to have fun. I think I love creating content. I love being a content creator. It just makes business fun. When you have a great personal brand, it makes business easy.
Yeah. And really quick, can you think back to a time where like you either felt like things were not going well or things
Mhm.
were like not growing? Maybe you felt like a failure, or things were
Yeah.
just not working. And can you talk about that time?
Yeah, totally. When I first got my license in November 2019, I closed my first sale and was a huge cold caller, triple line dialer, making 1,000 phone calls a day one in the business and everything like that because I was just hungry. And I closed my first sale like a week before COVID, and COVID hit LA extremely hard. And me coming back home was a reality check as well as an ego check because I've been in California for just under 2 years, and I was moving back home, and I was very opinionated with what others would think at the time, and like the big thing was that what are people going to think about me just having a real estate license here, just getting started and coming back and restarting everything. But I personally saw a huge opportunity with a lot of my high school buddies and college buddies buying and selling real estate, and I knew that I can be that guy. And just for me, studying of how am I going to build my business when I came back and relaunched in January 2021. But that first year was definitely tough with flooding. I only did 3 deals within my first 6 months of the business, started in January 2021. And I felt like I was going to quit because I was still living at home. My parents were asking me, like how everything was, and it was always hard for me to tell them like only like 3 sales and everything like that. But then the next 6 months, I had 18. I helped 18 families buy and sell real estate, and the biggest thing that I learned from that really quickly was that everything I do now results 3 to 6 months or even longer down the road. So it's really just keep planting the seeds and keep planting the seeds, and eventually you get to harvest it.
And you plant the seeds, and that's why you're doing 50 this year, and maybe we'll see about double next year.
Yeah, double next year.
Appreciate you coming on, and thanks for sharing everything.
Thanks for having me.